What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a really quick rant / breakdown on Henry Cejudo versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. How likely is this fight to go down? Not very likely, but you never know, I guess. Henry Cejudo, of course, crashed Sugar Sean O'Malley's interview. After his last fight, they were jawing back and forth. After that, Sean O'Malley called out Cejudo, called his bluff, wants to fight Henry. Henry, of course, has been out of the game for a bit, having retired, getting out of the USADA pool, but he announced that he's coming back to fighting, jumped back into USADA testing. And like I said, I don't see this fight happening. It doesn't really make sense. I think it's just Henry trying to create a buzz, seeing that Sean O'Malley's popular. But let's get into this fight nonetheless. Alright, quickly starting with stats. Henry Cejudo, 35 years old, 5'4", 64-inch reach, former 2-division champ, held those titles simultaneously. Of course, everybody knows this, Olympic gold medalist, hell of an athlete and competitor, no doubt. Say what you will about Henry Cejudo, the guy is a great fighter. Sugar Sean O'Malley, 27 years old, 5'11", 72-inch reach, brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but his bread and butter is his stand-up. O'Malley's a very colorful character, but just like how Henry is the king of cringe, O'Malley's very over the top, but don't be fooled, that guy's a killer as well. If he had a quote weak area, it might be his ground game because it's not really tested. We haven't seen a whole lot of his ground skills, but his stand-up, I believe, is some of the best in the UFC. So how would a fight between Henry Cejudo and Sugar Sean O'Malley play out in that cage? Well, I'm going to say off the rip, I think Henry Cejudo takes this fight. I would favor him by a fair amount. I think the experience goes to Henry Cejudo in the high-profile, bigger fights. He's been on that big stage fighting the elites, winning championships, not to mention his wrestling accomplishments in that big stage. There's no comparison right now as far as combat experience and accomplishments between Cejudo and Sean O'Malley. Also competition-wise with who they fought. Stylistically, I might give the edge in the stand-up to Sugar Sean O'Malley. I think he offers more in the feet. He's more fluid. He's trickier. He's got the reach. He has the length. He has great movement. A lot of feints, a lot of setups, traps. Henry really doesn't do that. That's not his style. But Cejudo has turned into a pretty efficient and dangerous stand-up fighter. He has knockout power. We've seen that. He's very smart, high fight IQ. And the threat of that takedown and his wrestling ability creates openings in the stand-up department. That's just how that goes. When you have a guy that can grapple, that is very proficient in wrestling, and when you have a guy who's primarily a striker, they get really tentative going against that wrestler grappler. They don't open up as much on the feet because they're afraid of being taken down. It creates openings in the stand-up for that wrestler / grappler who may not be as proficient in the striking. I like to bring Khabib up as an example often because Khabib got the better of guys with simple stuff standing, jabs, 1-2s, all because of the threat of that takedown and his wrestling. And I think the same would happen in this fight between O'Malley and Cejudo. Once again, I think possibly O'Malley edges him in the pure skill standing, but it's not like Henry would be completely outclassed. He's skilled, he's dangerous standing, and at this point he's pretty comfortable standing. Where there's a big gap in skill level and ability, it's in grappling and wrestling between Cejudo and O'Malley. I believe Henry could score takedowns. I believe Henry could control O'Malley on the floor. And to me, that's what's going to make the difference in this fight. I think Cejudo would pressure O'Malley, come forward, not give him space to work or breathe, cut that cage off. Eventually he would score a takedown. He would wear on Sugar Sean, ground and pound, smother him. And I could see a dominant decision for Henry Cejudo, if not a finish. Now, I know Sean has been working on his ground game. He's a brown belt in BJJ. I don't think he would be clueless on the mat. He would offer some threat, but there's too much of a gap in skill and ability on the mat. Henry's wrestling his wrestling ability and skill would be too much. Strength-wise, you got to give it to Henry. He's a little tank, little powerhouse. Speed, O'Malley might be a little bit quicker, but Henry's very explosive, so it's debatable. Cardio and conditioning, I got to give it to Cejudo. I think the guy's a hell of an athlete, always comes in shape. There's a lot going for Henry in this fight. It's going to be experience, he's going to be stronger, he's going to have a pretty big edge in the wrestling and grappling, very high fight IQ. Where I can see the possible edge for O'Malley is the activity. He's been busier because Henry's been retired, so ring rust is a factor. Maybe the striking edge, and honestly, besides the physical advantages like the height and reach, that's probably it for O'Malley. Because even like mental toughness, just toughness in general, I think Henry's a tougher fighter. That's not a knock on Sugar Sean, but if I had to give the edge and grittiness to somebody, it's going to be Cejudo. So my pick for this fight definitely would be Henry Cejudo. I could very well see a dominant decision win, and it's going to be a mixture of striking and grappling. The wrestling is going to be too much. The pressure, the pace, the fight IQ, the game planning. Yep, definitely see Cejudo taking this fight. I would say by a ratio of 70-30 to me. But you guys let me know in the comment section who takes this fight and why. I would love to read your thoughts. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. First time at the channel, hit that subscribe button. Like and share, that's how you show support. Appreciate that, and I will catch you guys on the next segment. If this fight takes place, we'll come back and talk about it as usual. Until then, you guys take care.